No, I just realized that this is like the last time that we're all gonna be here.
Nope.
Like this.
It would be easy to label Schitt's Creek another riches to rags story in which people who have everything must suddenly grapple with having nothing.
I'm sure there's a penthouse we can move into. Please, there are other options.
Homelessness is still on the table.
But is there a deeper reason why the show has resonated with such a huge audience?
And the Emmy goes to Schitt's Creek, Eugene Levy, Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara, Schitt's Creek.
The Canadian sitcom follows the wealthy Rose family who lose their massive fortune and are forced to relocate to a small town with a silly name. Over time, they find new lives and new relationships, and all of them obviously benefit from the experience.
I'd like to thank you all for helping to save my family over these past few years. I don't think we could have gotten through without you all.
But what makes Schitt's Creek different from other riches to rags stories we've seen before is its theme of antithesis. Each of the main characters has a corresponding foil, and by the end, they've all shaped and influenced each other. Yes, the Roses become better, humbler people, but they've also inspired the residents of Schitt's Creek to improve themselves.
What I've realized is that you've given me the opportunity to take this job and run with it.
The series emphasizes this balance. Its moral isn't as simple as arguing that the upper classes should be brought down a peg. Instead, Schitt's Creek shows us a more well-rounded picture of a society where income inequality is no longer a factor, class isn't an issue, and everyone is treated with empathy.
I've never felt more buttressed than I have in your company, dear gals.
Here's our take on how Schitt's Creek plays on this motif of opposites to show us how the Roses grow along with their counterparts, and what its vision of a classless society can tell us about bringing people together.
A part of me feels like I'm almost glad that we lost the money.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about all our new videos. A huge thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video. Brilliant is the best app to help you develop tools for managing uncertainty and interpreting information, such as adapting to an entirely new way of life. They offer over 60 fun interactive courses in math, science, and computer science. Click the link in the description below, brilliant.org/thetake, to sign up for a free account now. The first 200 people that go to the link will get 20% off an annual premium subscription.
You're gonna be gone soon. You're gonna miss this place.
We first meet Johnny Rose at rock bottom. He's a former video store magnate who's lost all his money to an unscrupulous business manager.
Leave your finances to me, said son of a bitch.
He and his family, his wife Moira, a former soap opera star, and their spoiled children, Alexis and David, are left with nothing but the town that Johnny once bought David as a gag gift. And for a while at least, they continue to treat Schitt's Creek as a joke, and many of the residents with condescension or disdain.
You, roast pigs?
We do. We have a big one hanging in the garage.
Wow, sounds like, quite the evening.
By the end, Johnny and Moira's place on the social ladder has been restored. They're headed to California, where Moira will reprise her role in a reboot of her TV show.
When forced to choose between Clifton and myself, they decided mine was the bigger name.
Johnny plans to temporarily set up his motel business headquarters while he's there.
Our offices will be in New York. Sounds like we're in for a tricky commute.
We'll just work it out, John.
But even though they've regained some of the standing they lost, they're no longer the same people. This is most evident in Johnny and Moira's symbiotic relationship with Schitt's Creek mayor Roland Schitt and his wife Jocelyn. The four are introduced as obvious foils. Johnny is polished and uptight, rarely seen in anything but an expensive suit.
I gotta tell you, that suit, that's pretty dangerous to wear in a party like this. I just want to wipe my hands all over that.
Roland is crude and blunt.
I hope we didn't catch the two of you with your pants down.
Sporting a mullet and a beer belly, he swaddles in dirty flannels. Their wives are also seeming opposites. Moira is icy and self-important. She dresses in over-the-top outfits and behaves melodramatically.
My bag! It's gone!
What bag?
My brown bag!
Jocelyn is warm and selfless. She wears plain, unfashionable dresses and always comes off as sunny and even-keeled.
Nanaimo bars.
accidentally doubled the batch and Roland's on diabetes watch, so I thought, why not share the wealth?
The tension that quickly arises between these couples is one based on pride. The Schitts are local royalty, and the Roses, with their air of big city superiority, pose a challenge to that authority that inevitably leads to conflict.
I don't want to tell you how I respond to threats.
And I don't want to tell you how I respond to illegal political activity.
Okay, fine, then don't.
Fine.
After their early attempts fail to engage the Roses as equals, the Schitts soon behave more like rivals. As Johnny struggles to maintain his dignity, he finds himself challenged, even mocked by Roland, who's clearly enjoying seeing Johnny struggle.
It's going to be awfully hard for me to get you to this meeting if I don't know where we're going.
The unemployment office!
The two spend much of the early seasons locked in a power play, each trying to assert their dominance over the other.
I need to borrow your truck. I've got a very important appointment today and sure could use it.
As the owner of the truck, would you do me one favor, though? When you return it, can you bring the seats back up the way I had them?
Meanwhile, Moira and Jocelyn endure their own clash after Moira nabs a spot on local singing group The Jazzagals, stealing Jocelyn's spotlight. Their competitiveness only intensifies when Moira runs against Jocelyn for town council.
Very glamorous. So we've scrapped the whole approachable angle, have we?
Who says this has anything to do with the campaign, Moira?
But over the course of the series, they're all forced to get over themselves and overcome their individual egos.
Do you people know what it took for Johnny Rose to come back and do this after being away for all that time?
And as these four get to know and appreciate each other, they come to realize that being a big deal is wholly subjective. This mutual respect begins to form as soon as they start to see each other beyond those trappings of class. Feeling isolated and lonely, Johnny and Moira soon realize they want to be liked by so-called regular people.
Regular people. I mean, they made us who we were. What am I trying to say?
We love regular people.
Significantly, Johnny even defends Roland and Jocelyn to his rich, snobby friends, symbolically making a break from his old elitist perceptions.
You wrote us off, Dawn. Not a phone call, not an email, not a nickel. Roland and Jocelyn here could not have been more generous with what little they have.
Meanwhile, the Schitts return the favor with their continued generosity. In the final season, they even help Johnny expand his motel by taking out a second mortgage on their own home, a move that sees the Roses and the Schitts become equals at last.
Say hello to your new business partners.
Thank you. Thank you, Roland.
Over time, their friendship helps the Roses let go of their pretensions, and it changes the Schitts as well.
Johnny! Woo! Look at me! I'm you!
Roland becomes more responsible, career-focused, and ambitious.
How about good job, Roland?
Good job, Roland.
You're a professional, Roland.
Jocelyn becomes less of a doormat.
I didn't pump for 4 hours straight to get on a chartered bus to go to the end of the street and back.
Still, the four were always more alike than they perhaps realized. When those prejudices are stripped away, we find we all more or less want the same thing out of life, to believe that our lives matter.
And that town you passed through, it's not called Schittsville. It's called Schitt's Creek. And it's where we live.
It's not been an easy road for me, but knowing that you will always be there for me at the end of it makes everything okay.
Schitt's Creek ends with a big climactic wedding between David and his partner Patrick, and while many a sitcom has engineered emotional closure with a finale wedding, the moment has a more symbolic meaning for the show, and for David. Flitting aimlessly around New York, David has spent most of his life just struggling to find his place, as well as people who genuinely like him for him.
I thought everyone just kind of dropped you like flies when you couldn't pick up the tab at the Waverly anymore.
He finally discovers those things in Patrick, in his store, and in Schitt's Creek. Yet in the show's final season, David still seems torn between his new life and his old one, fixating on a return to New York that, as Stevie points out, doesn't track with who he's become.
Why do you want to go back to a place that's done nothing but hurt your feelings?
Because I want those people to know that I'm not a joke. And that I've won.
So it's meaningful that David chooses not only to marry Patrick, but metaphorically marry the town. He becomes the only member of the Roses who decides to stay in Schitt's Creek, choosing a life that he certainly never pictured, but that he recognizes will make him the most fulfilled.
I just don't think I'm finished with this place. My business is here. My husband is here. and I'm just not ready to mess that up.
In the pilot, we learned that Johnny bought Schitt's Creek for David as a joke.
I bought that as a joke for my son.
But in the end, we see it became the greatest gift he could ever give him. David's growth is facilitated by Patrick, the nice, modest foil who initially seems his opposite in every way. David is conceited and materialistic, snarky to the point of misanthropic.
Yeah, I'm very uninterested in that option.
Patrick is pragmatic, considerate, and affable.
We need to do something to make this store feel a little bit more accessible, a little bit more inclusive.
They're a mismatched odd couple, with Patrick presenting a conservative rejoinder to David's neurotic quirks.
One of the fundamental pillars of any successful business person is their ability to compromise.
As they move from a business relationship into a romantic one, Patrick not only helps keep David on an even keel, he also helps him explore some of the deeper insecurities that hold him back.
I can't speak to your past, but I think you might have an easier time of it and maybe a little bit more fun if you just learn to trust people.
This opening up doesn't come easy to David, who has little to no experience with healthy relationships.
I've kissed like 1,000 people, but nobody that I cared about or respected.
But in the end, he sheds his phobias around commitment and expressing his emotions, and he completely reorients his life around another person.
It's not where you want to be, and I don't want to be anywhere you don't want to be.
Their relationship also represents a significant first for Patrick, who spent most of his life following the rules and forcing relationships with people who just weren't right.
I've spent most of my life not knowing what right was supposed to feel like, and then I met you.
Being with the unapologetically outspoken David gives Patrick new confidence, even allowing him to come out to his parents.
He's also a great partner outside of business. We're together.
Had the Roses never lost all their money, it's likely that David would have remained adrift, never becoming the sort of emotionally mature person who could be with someone like Patrick. But we can infer that Patrick might have remained in his shell as well.
I was getting a little scared that I was going to let you leave here without us having done that. Thank you for making that happen for us.
David also learns from Stevie, and she from him. With her sardonic wit and her own deeply rooted insecurities, Stevie is perhaps the most like David in the entire town.
I'm incapable of faking sincerity.
Their only real differences have to do with money.
My car's worth less than your pants.
Their friendship proves to be invaluable for both. David regularly seeks Stevie's advice before anyone else's because she seems to see exactly who he is.
I know everything about you, about your history, your family, and I'm still here.
I think you're my best friend.
And David helps Stevie overcome her own natural introversion and lack of confidence, embracing the badass she always was.
I'm only doing this because you called me rude, and I take that as a compliment.
Stevie gets more than a friendship out of the bargain. She also gets a new family in the Roses, who similarly encourage her to realize her potential.
So you're like a businesswoman now.
Damn right I am.
Under Johnny's tutelage, Stevie becomes empowered in her career, taking pride in the motel she once treated like a burden.
You know, it's not a bad thing to admit you really care about these awards, Stevie.
And at Moira's prodding, she steps well outside her comfort zone and realizes she's capable of much, much more.
You're very, very cool. And whether you set sail or stay put, that's not going to change.
While Stevie spends most of the series longing vaguely to be somewhere else, thanks to the opportunities and the support the Roses provide, she realizes she doesn't really need to go anywhere.
I didn't need to live in a big city. I guess I just needed to know that I could.
Like David, she finds her true fulfillment right where she is.
We decided that Roland and I would stay here, and I'm gonna travel around and set up all the new motels. I'd like to think that we helped each other get here.
Of all the show's characters, it's arguably Alexis who grows the most. The globe-trotting celebutante begins with no higher aspirations than being rescued by a wealthy man who can feed her expensive tastes.
At present, he's just coming for me, but then I figured that we would just come back and grab you guys at some point.
But by the end of the series, she's finally graduated high school, earned an associate's degree, launched her very own business, and accepted a great job offer in New York. This erstwhile embodiment of the word dependent for her rich daddy has become fully independent for the first time in her life.
I think it means that I'm going to be flying solo to New York.
Alexis's evolution is shown most clearly through Ted.
I don't think I'm ever going to meet another woman who made me feel the way that you do.
Their relationship is initially based on superficialities. Alexis is drawn to Ted since, as the town's veterinarian, he's as close as she can get to a rich doctor, and she considers him one of the few men worthy of dating her. But throughout their romance, she still holds herself out as superior, disregarding Ted's actual feelings, even when it comes to his marriage proposal.
And then in a few weeks, when we're settled and more focused on each other, we can try the whole proposal thing again. Unless you were going to say something else?
Alexis breaking Ted's heart actually helps him find himself.
Oh my god. Ted?
Alexis!
But more importantly, it allows both of them to see each other as equals, beginning first as co-workers, where this time Ted is her superior.
There's still work to be done, so probably best if you come back after lunch.
By shifting this power balance, they're able to really get to know each other, nurturing a friendship that blossoms into a renewed romance, one that's far more even.
And I'd be kidding myself if I told you that I haven't wanted to do this every single day for the last 2 years.
And while it ultimately doesn't work out, it's only because Ted has helped Alexis to grow into the kind of strong, independent person who would choose to follow her own career instead.
I can't move to the Galapagos.
I wouldn't let you even if you tried.
Alexis's own counterpart in town is Twyla, the loopy diner waitress who, in many ways, is Alexis's mirror image. Both are slightly ditzy and lost in their own worlds.
The turtle flew to the Galapagos?
No. Ted the turtle is missing. I am now talking about my boyfriend, Ted. Twy, it would be great if you could keep up.
Both can be blunt and oblivious, but are generally shown to be good-hearted.
I read about you guys and everything you've gone through. It sounds super crappy.
Super crappy.
Both hail from dysfunctional families that have been upended by their father's mistakes.
And it's getting harder and harder to coordinate visitation times with my dad in prison.
Tellingly, they even date the same guy, Mutt. It's clear that Twyla is who Alexis could be without her wealth and her status to insulate her.
He plays soccer and he works at the quarry, and we both have the same second favorite color.
So important.
And Alexis is who Twyla would be when stripped of her small-town modesty and friendliness.
I'm expensive sushi. I'm a cute yacht. I'm a little bit single, even when I'm not.
Schitt's Creek suggests that it's nurture rather than nature that's shaped these two women, and the actress Annie Murphy, who plays Alexis, seems to agree. Alexis is so much a product of her environment, she told Variety. Growing up with all of the insincerity and falseness around her, she became one person, but then plunked into another environment where she had the opportunity to show kindness and sensitivity and independence and intelligence. Being in the town gave her the opportunity to figure out who she actually was.
As of today, feel free to refer to me as Alexis Rose, founder and CEO of Alexis Rose Communications.
Alexis, that's wonderful.
The show's final episodes directly confront this notion with the surprise revelation that Twyla is in fact extremely wealthy, having won $92 million in the lottery.
What are you doing here? You could be anywhere doing anything.
The fact that Twyla has kept this a secret reinforces the idea that class, status, and wealth are not only about perceptions, they can actually be limitations.
Money can buy a lot of snowmobiles, but it can't buy happiness. So it's about how you live your life. Doing what makes you smile.
It's a lesson that Alexis takes to heart. When Twyla offers to float Alexis money to get her started in New York, Alexis politely declines.
I think that if I'm gonna do this on my own, I need to do this on my own.
I respect that.
And while Twyla inspires Alexis to believe in herself and be her own person, Alexis inspires Twyla to let go a little bit, to use her wealth for the right reasons and buy the cafe she loves.
Spending like a little bit of money on something really special. It might not buy you happiness, but it can definitely help make you smile.
The show reinforces the parallel track of their lives with a clothing swap, where Twyla initially tries to take a bright pink dress from Alexis.
This cute dress makes me smile.
Notably, this is the exact same dress that Alexis wears in the pilot, and Alexis takes it back.
Not quite sure how that one got in there, but anything else in there is yours if you want it.
The dress has become more than just a vestige of Alexis's wealth and status. It's a symbol of where Alexis's journey began and the life that first brought her to Schitt's Creek, where, like the rest of the family, she's discovered her truest self.
You're gonna do great things, Alexis.
Schitt's Creek premiered in 2015 at a time when so-called wealth porn reality series dominated pop culture. Dan Levy has said that he was inspired to create the show by asking himself, would the Kardashians still be the Kardashians without their money? Meanwhile, Annie Murphy has said she patterned Alexis's high-pitched vocal fry
Ouch, David.
and exaggerated wrist flicks after the mannerisms of socialites like Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton. The show reflected a moment when our fascination with the super rich was beginning to bleed over into fatigue, mockery, and even resentment.
And I miss being surrounded by loose acquaintances who think that I'm funny and smart and charming.
Some of the show's early success can likely be attributed to this sentiment. We've seen a growing number of eat the rich stories that play on the widening gap between haves and have-nots, many of them seeing the wealthy becoming humbled, made miserable, or even killed by a fed-up working class.
And deep down, we all want to eat the rich.
But Schitt's Creek ended up subverting this narrative as well. While we might initially take a twisted satisfaction in seeing the Rose family lose everything, we soon learn to care for them the way the rest of the town does. In re-examining the metaphorical value of money, Schitt's Creek presents a place where the rich are not punished, but rather given the freedom to become more authentic, where they're no longer trapped by the expectations and the confines of their lifestyle.
Do I have to remind you of the time that I was taken hostage on David Geffen's yacht by Somali pirates for a week and nobody answered my texts?
We watch them become regular, actual people who learn to prioritize what's truly important, beginning with themselves. Schitt's Creek may have started as a joke about the wealth and status that keep us apart, but it became a show about all the things that unite us.
Just wanted one last look. Driver, we're ready.
Hi everyone, I'm Susanna.
I'm Deborah, and we're the creators of The Take.
Please subscribe and tell us what you want our take on next.
Thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video. Brilliant is a problem-solving website and app that offers math and science courses developed by award-winning professionals from MIT, Microsoft, and Google. With Brilliant, learning isn't just easy, it's fun. The app features daily challenges that teach you how to solve math and science problems we face in real life. Have you ever noticed that when you learn or experience something new, it can change your beliefs about how the world works? Did you know there's a formula for that? Check out the Knowledge and Uncertainty course to learn cutting-edge mathematics to deal with the uncertainty in your life. Click the link in the description below, brilliant.org/thetake, to sign up for free. If you're one of the first 200 people to click the link, you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription.